James Corden plays Jamie in Mammals. I'm Matt Noble of Gold Derby, and I just wanted to kick things off, James, by asking you, which mammal do you most relate to?
Oh, oh wow. It's a good question. I don't know. I mean, maybe. Well, there's quite a lot of whales in the show, so I do. Since thinking about them quite a lot, I do feel like I have a real soft spot for them. But when we move back to London, the deal with our children is that we're going to get a dog. My daughter, well, they've all wanted a dog, but my daughter, my middle daughter, particularly, has wanted a dog for a very, very long time. And part of the deal of when we move back is because we know we'll be in one place and we'll be settled. We'll get a dog. So I imagine I'm going to fall in love with this dog like nothing else. So let's go with dogs for now. Yeah.
I love it. What's the biggest challenge for you in playing Jamie?
I suppose. I mean, look, in terms of reading someone else's lines, I don't think it gets easier than when you're reading scripts that are written by a writer like Jez Butterworth. So in that respect, he's such a phenomenal talent that what he's written and the way that he's written it and the way that these characters speak feels very authentic, just even on the page. So I don't know that the difficulties were necessarily in the character. I think, as everybody I'm sure you've spoken to who shot anything through COVID, the challenges felt exterior to the filming. Like when you're actually filming the stuff, you're like, well, at least we're here and we're not in the middle of another COVID shutdown or any of those things. I have to say, I found playing him a joy, really, from start to finish. I just absolutely loved doing it, and I think it's so well written that, and the rest of the cast is so incredible that it felt pretty organic doing it. And I quite enjoyed playing somebody who essentially is just bottling lots of stuff up. He's just trying to keep a lid on everything, and until he finally lets it go, So I that could be challenging at points, just because obviously it was all shot so much out of sequence,
Do you find Jamie, was he an easy character to relate to or tough to tap into?
Well, I signed on to do it after I read episode 1. And then after that, Jez was kind of writing with me in mind. So his greatest skill as a writer, I think, is capturing what you would normally think is sort of everyday mannerisms. And we were very lucky that Stephanie Lang, who directed the show, was so incredible that I just pretty much felt completely supported throughout it all, really. And he goes on such a journey that it all felt very, very organic, the journey that it happened. I mean, there's so many scenes. There's like in episode 6, there's a 11-minute scene, which is, I think, or it's a 9-minute scene that's 11 pages, or it's an 11-minute scene that's 14 pages. I can't remember, but that's the closest I've ever felt to like being in a play on a set, and he writes so well that it just kind of flows in the most brilliant way, really.
Yeah. And like it's interesting that you talk about that sort of like theatrical nature to it, because you've won, you're a Tony winning actor, he's a Tony winning playwright, Jez, who wrote the series. So like, was there that sort of like, how did you tap into what you've learnt on stage for this show?
I don't know that I tapped in so much to what I've done on stage. I've been lucky to be in 2 plays, one was called The History Boys and the other One Man, Two Governors. I don't know if I lent so much on stuff that I did then. I think if I thought about anything, I was, in fact, Sally Hawkins and I, when we met, Sally Hawkins is in the show. When we met, we were both in a Mike Leigh movie called All or Nothing. And that was probably the experience I lent on most in this, because so much of it is essentially just holding a mirror up to who we are and what we do. So I don't know if I really thought about it as a play. I mean, I very much think Jez looked at the show I mean, not even the show really. His plan for the whole arc of the show, if we ever get to make any more, is that this is just one section of a larger piece. Like that, this is one section where you will essentially see either side of all of it. And so I guess I think perhaps thinks quite a lot in 2 or 3 act structures, you know?
Yeah, I think that's is a really interesting way of thinking about it, because it's part relationship drama, it's part comedy, it's also sort of part mystery, where different you sort of zoom out a bit more and more as more information's discovered. Jamie's snooping around, following his wife to see what the story is here, and it does play out a bit like a mystery, which I found a really fun element to the show. Yeah,
the twists in the show are the thing that I think are the most, what he's done so deftly in the way that he's written it. The way that it twists and turns is, because obviously there's a very big twist at the end of episode 1, and then part of you thinks, well, he can't just keep that up, and he pretty much does in every episode. And I think it asks a lot of the viewer, really. It asks a lot of the viewer to figure stuff out and to go, oh, okay, well, that's that, you know. That's, I think, the most compelling thing about it. It's why I think, from what I can work out, most people who've sat down to watch it have watched it all in either 1 or 2 sittings. You know, it really does move at such a pace that you just want to find out who these people are and what's going to happen.
And it's always also a bit of a shift in there's obviously big shouting scenes in the show, but there's also some of the little twists are a bit understated in how they're revealed too. And there's a nice little comedic twang when or music beat when a twist is revealed. It just sort of ends the episode. You're like, oh, okay, this changes how I see things.
Well, I think that's what he wants to do. Is essentially he wants to make a show that says we're all flawed, all of us, and the way that we look at relationships and view relationships is probably through a lens which doesn't necessarily suit human behavior. And that's really what he's kind of talking about. And lots of things, you know, sometimes in life, the biggest moments that happen are often surrounded by the smallest, most intricate moments. You know, if I think about any grief that I've had in my life or things, these huge moments just drop into your day, and it's very rarely reflected in film that the day is still carrying on. And you know, the huge moment might come between you ordering a salad and it arriving, and something huge could happen in your life, and then your food arrives, and it's the tiniest, most ordinary thing, and yet in that moment right there, it is completely different. So I'm just so proud of the show, and the way that he's written it feels completely unique to this show.
When you take on a new character, James, do you learn things about yourself? Do you learn things through experiencing the world through another person, or?
Well, I think for me, the sort of choices that I've made in the last decade, I guess, you know, deciding to sort of host this late night talk show that I do. I think if I'm completely honest with myself, I probably because I always knew that it wasn't going to be forever, because I always knew that this was an adventure. It wasn't my final destination. I think I knew that. I think if I'm completely honest with myself, I probably said yes to. I basically said yes to almost any acting opportunity that would come my way, because I didn't want it to be a shock when I finished the show. And then I said, well, now I'm going to go back to doing this, that people would go, what? Well, that's not what you do. And I think doing a piece like Mammals, a project like Mammals, made me feel like, oh, okay, I need to think very carefully about what I gravitate towards. And I think all of us feel, I'm sure you do, Matt, that all of us feel like on some level, like, oh, I might be capable of more than this. If only people could see that I could do this, you know? And so when those things come along, it immediately is surrounded by a huge amount of fear, where you're like, oh God, well, what if I can't? What if I'm not capable of this? So the test of it, I found life-changing, actually. Yeah.
Was there a particular thing about this character, thing about this show or scene or something where you weren't sure if you were capable of something?
Yeah, all of it. All of it. You never should, like, you know, I think anyone that isn't racked with a huge amount of doubt, I don't understand. I don't understand it. I couldn't. Yeah, every day I would just think, everything I do, I'm like, how am I? Is this? Am I? Should I be doing this? Should I be here? You know, all the time. That's just, I think, the nature of. I don't even know if it's the nature of being a performer. I think it's the nature of being a human being.
Yeah.
Actually, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Like in the show, your character has a manifesto. Love is impossible, believe in the impossible, believe in magic.
Yeah.
And like, you know, you're just talking now about the doubts that actors or people can have about like taking on challenges. Like as an actor, do you have is there a manifesto? Is there something you have to believe in as an actor?
I don't. Well, I'm sure lots of people would say yes. I don't know the answer to that. I mean, for me, I'm much more interested in the adventure of it than what happens after that. Because ultimately, you're here for a tiny amount of time, and really, what it's about is thinking that how can I connect better with myself, and therefore with society, I guess, and all of these things inform you as a person, and inform me as a father, as a partner, as a friend. So I don't really have a manifesto as an actor, really. Maybe I should. Maybe all the best people do. I don't know. I don't know. I'll ask them when they come on my show.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The manifesto doesn't necessarily always work out great for your characters in the series. So maybe manifesto is not the secret to success. But there is something that I think is like there's a magic to love, but there is also a magic to performance and for telling a story like you are in Mammals. You talked about sort of finishing up at the Late Show, James.
Yeah.
And last time we spoke, we talked about the show, and you said so the night before you started, or when you were starting the show, you said you just have to enjoy it because that's the only thing you can do. And it seemed like you really appreciate the opportunity you have on that show. I know when I've ever had to like leave places or finish up things that I've gotten a lot of enjoyment out of, knowing when you're leaving and when there's like X number of days or X number of things left, like you sort of walk around with a level of appreciation, or like it just feels a bit different. Does it feel different walking around the Late Show at the moment for you, knowing that there's X number of shows left or not?
I don't know that it's completely hit us yet, because I think we still have, I don't know, like, I think we still have like 70 hours of TV to produce. So when you put that in, when you compare that to like Mammals, which is 2 hours and 40 minutes of content, you know?
Yeah.
So, but I am absolutely aware that coming back in January will, I think that's when it will really probably hit me that, okay, we're on there. Because often these shows, you look at them in kind of blocks, you know. And then when we come back in January, we'll be entering the last block. And that is, it's going to be really, it's going to be really hard. There's no doubt about it. It's going to be really hard, you know, like the friendships that I've made, that we've all made there. It is, it's an extraordinary thing to place to work. It's an extraordinary thing to be part of. And I've really never ever taken it for granted in any way. I love doing it. I absolutely love it. I feel nothing but an extraordinary amount of pride for what we have done and achieved. And yeah, it's been the most rewarding journey of my life, and I've made my peace emotionally with the idea that this might be it, you know, that like this might be the sort of pinnacle of it, of my career. But I just feel like I'm so definite that I have to just go and look and see if there's anything else in the woods. I have to go and find out and look around, safe in the knowledge that there might not be. And it's a feeling of being utterly terrified and incredibly excited and incredibly grateful. And those three feelings switch place sometimes minute by minute.
Yeah. I know that you'll find stuff to do where that's yeah, and I like
I
the Into the Woods reference, James.
You gotta go into the woods, man.
Into the woods. Go to the woods. Last time we spoke, I also did a round of celebrity noses with you, and I've just got one celebrity nose for you. I think it'll be interesting with when you do the last of things, like the last celebrity noses, the last carpool, the last, you know, whatever.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Can you this celebrity nose? You know, this celebrity nose. There's just one this time.
Is it Tom Hiddleston?
No, it is President Bartlett, Martin Sheen.
Oh no! How did I not get that? That's crazy. Oh man.
There you go. Bartlett's nose.
There it is.
James, you and me have a shared love of The West Wing. I just wondered, do you have a favorite line or moment from that show?
Oh, my favorite line is never underestimate that a group of, I'm going to get this wrong, never underestimate that a group of committed, passionate and determined people can change the world. Do you know why? No. It's the only thing that ever has.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
That's one of my favorites. What's the other one where he says, I love that scene, which is John Spencer and Martin Sheen in the president's office, that when he does the "Let Bartlett be Bartlett" napkin,
yeah,
and he says you don't everything about your, Francis, you don't want to be a one-term president. No, you didn't say that. You didn't, Mr. President. You said let's dip our toes in the water. He says these people that would run through fire for you. This kid, he earns $6 an hour, and they say there's threats on his life. He says, screw it, I'm going anyway. He goes, these people would run through a wall for you, mobilize them. And then Bartlett says, I'm fed up of being silent. I've got something to say. I'm going to talk. And that's when he writes the napkin. I mean, that whole show, whole show is just full it is full of epic moments.
Yeah, no, it's great. I love the flashbacks in the Ash Shadow 2 Gunman, where Martin's talking to where Leo's talking to Bartlett, and yeah, no, it's great stuff. It's not our job to appeal to the lowest common denominator. It's our job to raise it. Some great stuff there.
Yes, we will raise the level of debate in this country. That will be our legacy.
You know it, James. What for you to finish off? What West Wing? Lots of epic moments there. What for you was the most epic or fun moment of Mammals season 1 to shoot or to watch?
Well, I'm proud of all of it. There was a day we had. It was quite a tough shoot. This shoot. There's a scene at the end. There's a scene at the end of episode 3 where my character essentially has opened his restaurant, and he essentially confronts his wife about her behavior in front of all their friends and family. And we were supposed to have 3 days to shoot in the restaurant. And we got there we were supposed to have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We got there on the Monday, and there was a positive test, which meant we had to shut down. We weren't allowed in the next day. Everything had to be cleaned. Or there was to rewrite something because somebody couldn't be there, and all this stuff. And it meant that we had the 3 days to shoot. We had 1 day. So everything that you see in the show that is in the restaurant was shot in 1 day. And this scene was supposed to have, like, that scene we were meant to have, I don't know, 3-4 hours, I guess. And as it came to it, we essentially had 10 minutes. And I actually called Jez before it and said, Jez, do you think he knows that he's going to say this at this moment? And Jez said, I don't know, but I'm excited to find out what you do. And it was a feeling of going, we had 10 minutes to shoot it. And it was a feeling where I just thought, well, I have to just completely let go of this now, this scene. I have to let go of it and just see. Because sometimes you want to do, maybe I'll try to take like this. Perhaps you could do a retake. Maybe it's a slightly more like this, And I thought, well, this has just got to be kind of jazz, really. And I'm very, very proud of that scene, just because of the constraints that we were under, but also I just never ever felt like it was. I didn't really feel like I was doing a scene. I knew it, and I just sort of did it. And there's moments in it and choices in it that I don't remember really making. Really, like there's a moment where he just sort of goes, and then he does this at one point, and I don't really remember doing that or thinking about it. It was just a feeling of going, well, look, we've probably got 1 take of this. We ended up having 2. So whatever happens, whatever it is, it'll be. So that was that will always stay with me there.
Well, James, all the best of luck as you go out into the brave unknown of performances and acting and all that sort of stuff. All the best of luck also for all the awards coming down the pipeline with Mammals for Guild nominations and the Emmys next year. People watching this interview can go to goldderby.com to make your award predictions and join in the discussion. And James, thank you so much for the time today. It's always lovely to chat.
Bless you, Matt. You're a star. Cheers, mate. I appreciate it.